Welcome to the Pursuit of Prevention podcast. My name is Bailey French, a Purdue-trained nutritional scientist and nutrition counselor, and today you will walk away from this episode with some tools to help improve your health. Because around here, we believe that you are not defined by your family health history. You can enhance your DNA and leave a new legacy of wellness for your family. If you are ready to take control of your health and win back the confidence that comes from knowing that each day you are preventing the illnesses that run in your family, you've come to the right place. Let's get started. Hey crew, welcome back to the Pursuit of Prevention podcast. My name is Bailey French. I am a nutritional scientist and nutrition counselor, the host of this show. And as this episode comes out, today is Thursday, December 29th, 2022, which means we are 2 days away from the new year. Now, historically, the new year for you when it comes to health might be a little bit triggering, right? This is the time of year when we've all fallen off the wagon. It's time to get back on. You really might feel a little bit defeated. Oh no, here we are again after, so many times of trying diet after diet, thing after thing. And what I want you to know today is that first of all, that's okay. If the new year is what gets you going to create and to start those healthier habits, that's a good thing. No matter how many times you've done it in the past, starting is a good thing. Doing better for yourself is a good thing. So be proud of that, okay? Now, what today's episode is going to be, it's actually a little bit different than normal. We are doing a year in review, a best of 2022 recap. So you're about to see some clips pulled from some of the favorite, most popular episodes from the podcast this year. And what's really special about that is that you get kind of a good roundup of all of the really great tips, the great pieces of wisdom, the nuggets that are really going to help you move the needle in your health over these next several weeks specifically. And what that means for you is that you can go into this new year knowing what is worth your time and effort, what is maybe not worth going into some specific diets, maybe some specific habits. This should be really helpful for you to get you on a good path to knowing what your next best step is going to be. And then in the new year, we will be doing every other week, just like usual, with a new episode coming out on Thursday mornings. These are going to be a mix of interviews with different people, tips, tricks, you name it, we're going to do it. So the Pursuit of Prevention podcast is currently in season 2. Next May in the spring, we will take a little bit of a break and then come back strong in season 3. But for right now, what you can really look forward to is that new year of fresh ideas, of things to help you not only get started on your health journey, but to keep going so that in March, you are going strong. You're not falling off the wagon again. Okay, so enjoy today's episode. I'm so thankful and proud and excited that you are here. This year was a huge milestone. The podcast reached over 1,000 downloads, which is small, but we never despise the day of small beginnings around here. So I'm so thankful for each and every one of you that listens to the show, that shares, that saves the episodes. It means the absolute most, and I cannot wait for you to enjoy all that is coming for the Pursuit of Prevention podcast in the new year. So without further ado, here is your best of 2022 Pursuit of Prevention podcast roundup episode. If you are someone that's currently struggling with a digestive disorder specifically, or you're just having some general digestive issues, we're talking things like bloating, gas, constipation, and or diarrhea on a regular basis. Some of those things that again have become normalized, those are not normal symptoms. They should not be happening every day, even every week. And while they are common, that doesn't mean that you have to live that way or that that's really a good way to live. The goal is to be thriving, not simply surviving with all of these gut complication issues, right? So today we're going to go through at the very end 3 tools that you can start using today to improve your digestion and improve your gut health a little bit. So please do not feel afraid to reach out and ask your questions. This is a safe place. Today we're opening the floor. We are talking about poop. We're talking about flatulence. You're talking about all the very unsexy things, because the gain that you can have when your gut health and digestion is in order is living your best life. I have a friend who also works in gut health, and she always says your quality of life rises and falls on your digestion. And she's so right. You can see here that this is all a cascade of events, right? A actual physical linear connection from gut health and digestion all the way down to the very common diseases that we see on a daily basis that have somehow become so normal that hundreds of thousands of people die from these diseases every single year, when a lot of them can be prevented with dietary and lifestyle changes. Constipation often occurs when we are dehydrated, because that expansion and contraction gets more difficult. Think about how hard it is to keep moving your body when you are exhausted and dehydrated. You physically get really tired. Your limbs feel really heavy. It's hard to do anything but sit around and be lazy. That same thing happens to your gut. So it is incredibly important to be hydrated, to be drinking enough fluid. But something else we're going to talk about in a moment is about being hydrated on the inside, which looks a little bit different than just making sure you're drinking your water. Electrolytes. Electrolytes have become incredibly popular over the last several years, simply because there have been products created to combat the problem. It is a real problem, and it is one that does need to be addressed. A lot of times when we see absorption issues, it could be because your electrolytes are not balanced. We were told as kids, you were probably told as a child, that your pee should be pale yellow in color. That is still the truth. Nothing about that has changed, but now we are under the general understanding that the more water you drink, the better. That's not necessarily the case. If your pee is clear or really, really, really barely tinted yellow, you are overhydrated. And when you are overhydrated, there is a chance that your organs are dehydrated. Sugar is not an electrolyte. Therefore, it does not need to be in an electrolyte drink supplement. Are we clear here? Okay, so number 1 is going to actually be increase your water intake. You should be right about half your body weight in ounces. Tip number 2 is going to be increase your color intake. Increase your color intake. You should aim to have 3 colors every single day. That might sound like a silly common sense goal, but when you sit down and think about it, how many colors beside green and beige do you have on a regular basis? It is very easy to get into a cycle of just having greens all the time. Leafy greens, broccoli, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, green beans. Those are all fantastic options. They are really good for your health, but you need to be adding in diet diversity to support a healthy digestive tract. Okay, so 3+ colors every single day. If you can hit each color of the rainbow every day, that is like next level. You are advanced student on this digestion journey, but start with 3 colors. Your final tip is to add tea at night. Your cortisol levels should be steadily declining as the day goes on. And if they don't, it can make it harder for you to digest your food in the evening. adding tea can be really soothing to the digestive system in the evening and help your body remember, hey, okay, it is time to settle down, it is time to slow down so that my body can do what it's supposed to do overnight while I rest. Okay? Any type of tea is great as long as it is a green tea. There are two reasons for that. A green tea, let's preface, no added caffeine. You don't want to be wired with a black tea or a matcha style tea because that can interfere with your sleep, can interfere with your REM cycles of sleep, meaning that you won't wake up feeling rested. So it's really important to make sure that you are having a caffeine free, especially if you are caffeine sensitive, or a very low caffeine tea option if you are not so sensitive to caffeine levels. The other reason that you might want to choose a green tea is that green tea extract, also known as EGCG, has been shown to be one of the only compounds that actually burn and shrink fat cells. So, if you're having a cup of green tea in the evening, it may help your metabolism speed up a little bit and help manage weight while you sleep. So, really cool benefits. It is also great to support the cardiovascular system. There's lots of really good things in there. If you're struggling with specific digestive issues, you might want to look for a ginger or peppermint based tea, as those are soothing to the gut. They can help relieve some symptoms like gas and bloating. What we're talking about is your ability to edit your DNA. You did hear that correctly. You can edit your DNA. Now, I hear what you're about to say. I know my inbox is about to be flooded with Bailey. There is simply no way. All we've ever been told is that your genetics are what you're born with and they don't change, and that's that. But my friend, that's just not the truth. That's not the whole truth. Anyway, so let's look at the facts here. Breaking it down by the 4 core killers, when we look at heart disease, now that is anything from plaques building up in your arteries to a heart attack to other heart conditions, maybe an arrhythmia, your heart is beating on a different pattern than what it should be, even blood pressure, hypertension, those are under the umbrella of heart disease. All types of heart disease are 80% preventable. Now, what that means is that your genetics give that 20%. Okay? So, what is in your DNA is that 20% category that you can't change. And here's the thing, you can't completely change your genes. Okay, you are born with your genes. What you have control over is your genetic expression. Next up on the list is cancer. And just so you guys know, these are going in order. Heart disease is the #1 killer in the United States. Cancer is typically #2. Diabetes comes in around 7th. So it's up there in the main causes of death, direct causes of death. So cancer is anywhere from 30 to 50% preventable. The reason why this is such a large range is because of all the different types of cancer. They affect different parts of your body, and some types of cancer are more slow growing, which means you may not be able to catch them until it is in a later stage or well advanced. And at that point, treatment options can be very limited. And that is where we start to see a lot of death happening from cancer because it could have been growing for years and years without you ever knowing it. And then by the time you go to treat it, treatment simply isn't as effective as it could have been if you had been diagnosed in stages 1 or 2. So that is why we see that big range from 30 to 50%. And on the flip side, that means that your genetics account for anywhere from 70 to 50% or 50 to 70% of your risk of developing cancer. Hear me when I say your risk of developing cancer. Just because you have a gene that says that you are very likely to get cancer does not mean that you have to get cancer. This is what genetic expression can do. Your genetic expression can literally change the trajectory of your life. It can change the length of your life. And that is something you have control over. So let's move into diabetes here. Diabetes is 90% preventable. Type 2 diabetes, of course, is 90% preventable. That means that your genetics only have a 10% say in the conversation when it comes to developing type 2 diabetes. Now, the real kicker here, the emotion, the heart here, is that you have likely been told that if diabetes runs in your family, then it's just going to happen. And oh, well, okay, you have insulin, you can take metformin, like you have all these medications that you can take to just counteract it. And if that is how you want to live your life, I'm not judging you. Everybody has their choice, their opinion. You get to do whatever you want to do. And that's okay. I will never judge you for your decision. But if you know that you want to live a life not dependent on medication, if you don't have to be, then you're in the right place here. This is a conversation for you. So let's break that down a little bit. Every 3 in 5 people that die had underlying chronic inflammation and or an autoimmune disorder. So it is not the inflammation or autoimmune disorder that killed them, but it did not put their body in peak performance to survive whatever they passed away from. And then that last piece there, the preventable conditions, that is what actually killed them. So, maybe they did develop type 2 diabetes and the diabetes killed them, but their body could not properly fight the diabetes because they had this underlying inflammation or autoimmune condition. Because here's the thing. You can't entirely change your genetics, right? You can't entirely change the genes that you were born with. They are what make you uniquely you. We've already discussed that. And so the real thing here is that those genes could still kill you one day. There is no guarantee. And speaking quite frankly, I am not God, so I can't tell you what's going to happen. What I can do is give you the knowledge that He has given me, help you interpret it, and help you make better decisions in your day-to-day life so that you can become the healthiest version of yourself, which greatly reduces your risk of dying from those genes. So one very specific example that will help you really grasp this concept is something called a tumor suppressor gene. Did you know that every single person has a tumor suppressor gene? Your genetic expression tells your body if that gene is on or if it is off. Just like this light switch back here, that gene can turn on and off, and guess what influences the on and off state? Your food, the levels of nutrients that you have, your fluid balance, your stress at work. All of these things influence your genetic expression. Now, for a tumor suppressor gene, you want it to be on, right? Tumor suppressor genes suppress tumor growth. Therefore, you want it to be on so that it is constantly suppressing any tumor that may be growing in your body. Your genes, what's passed down through your family, and or your daily choices of food, of liquid, of stress, of body care products, these choices can turn the gene off so that the gene is not suppressing tumors. And then you see tumors start to grow. Cancer starts to spread quickly because your tumor suppressor genes are not expressing in the way that is optimal for your body. Okay. Now, the shocking part here is that many, not all, but a whole lot of genes in your body function the very same way as the tumor suppressor genes. They can be in an off state. They can be in an on state. They can switch between on and off. Sometimes you want that. If you are looking at a gene that is supposed to switch on and off based on feedback loops inside of your body, and somebody has taped the light switch on, that's not a good thing either. What we're talking about here with this light switch effect is your genetic expression. Your genetic expression is entirely controlled by the choices and habits that you make in your home, in your life, every single day. I am sitting here with my friend Jeanette Bamonte. She is a veterinarian and incredibly smart in multiple other areas. She's kind of like a master of all, to be honest, and I don't know many people like that. So you guys are very lucky to get to be in on this conversation today. So Jeanette is here because she has a really fun story about gut health. And I know that some of you are also on this journey or feeling a little lost and stuck with just getting started. Jeanette gives a really good insight on how to honestly call the BS on that, because she's a genius veterinarian, but now she also knows so much about her body and about food. So I'm going to honestly just give the reins to her and let you guys hear her brain, because it is so, so special.
And within 20 minutes, I was in the only bathroom that we had in the hospital for staff of like 15 people and the clients. I was like, well, it is what it is at this point. And that's when I was like, this has got to stop. When I was ordering the dress, I was like, do I size up in case I get bloated, or do I stay the same size? And I felt miserable after eating at the event because my stomach, and I didn't realize when I was trying to cut out dairy that dairy isn't so much. And I was so naive. I just thought it was cheese, milk, yogurt, like the sour cream, the obvious things. I wasn't reading ingredient labels. For the crackers I was eating had milk in them. They were called nut crackers.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me a little while. And yeah, there were times where I was almost scared to eat because I was like, I feel miserable and so bloated afterwards. And I feel like I'm a pregnant woman.
Yeah. Which is honestly terrifying.
Yeah.
So take me through this year, 2022, because I feel like, right, kind of at the beginning of this year, you got very vocal and just open about sharing about all of this on your Instagram, which will be linked in the show notes for all of you at the end of the show. But I feel like you got so good at just sharing, honestly, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows. So tell me a little bit about that. What kind of drew you out to be like, I can't keep quiet about this?
It's such a good question. And it was an evolution, I think, because after I cut out the dairy, I got better. I felt better. I wasn't as bloated. Things got better, even though now I was terrified because I had my skin test, my throat started to close, and now it was here, you need to carry these EpiPens, which I'd never seen before in my life. I use epinephrine in the hospital. It comes in a nice little bottle. I don't have a pen for my patients. And it was like, don't eat dairy. And I was literally shoot out the door. Mind you, the doctor didn't even want to test me. I had to convince him to test me when I was there. And being a doctor, I knew that like this wasn't right. Something wasn't right. So things got better for a while. And then I'd say mid last year, I felt like things weren't right again. And I saw it all. I saw that me, a presumed in shape 30-something-year-old doctor, when I looked at my lab work, I was not healthy. And I was kind of shocked. I knew something was off. I didn't know how bad it was off. I didn't realize how bad my inflammation was and what it was predisposing me to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, wow, if this is me, imagine what other people have going on. And it's not just how you fit in your clothes, it's your sleep patterns, which then dictates how you perform at work, which then dictates when you get home from work, how you interact with your spouse. I mean, it really is like a full cycle
To living your best life. It will likely make you feel better because cutting these foods out did make you feel better. And I guess I should ask you, in that season of cutting out a lot of things, do you think you could have sustained it for years and years to come?
And this is another great point because I've had this thought.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, obviously, cutting out the dairy helped me. And I mean, essentially saved my life potentially by not eating it and going into anaphylaxis without realizing that I could go into anaphylaxis and not being prepared. But I really feel like hand over my heart, over my stomach, that I don't think cutting these foods out alone would have gotten me better. I don't. I think it would have been like taking the gasoline away from the fire. The fire's still going.
Right.
So I think it was the whole approach of, yes, let's cut these things out because they're gassing on a fire, but how do we put the fire out? And that's with the proper supplementation. That's with the proper of eating of certain foods or not eating certain foods, not even just on my panel. And she didn't even do a food panel because she said, doing it right now, it's going to give you a lot of false positives because you have gut inflammation. So you're going to be cutting out things that you don't need to cut out. It's the gut until proven otherwise.
Yeah. And here's the big thing. There's no harm in starting in the gut. I mean, you truly, I guess I should be cautious of this. You can. Too much of a good thing is not a good thing in
Absolutely.
any circumstance. So to be entirely honest, if Jeanette had started this and just started taking a probiotic, because let's be honest, that's what most people do. Somebody says, oh, it could be your gut.
It did nothing.
Thank goodness, because if she had started a probiotic, she would likely be in a much worse place than she was when she started, because it's not what her body needed. Having the actual paper validation in front of you to say, hey, you're doing a good job, like you felt better. I could see it just in the way, like when you got on stories, your eyes literally were brighter and more awake. But having that, when Jeanette texted me and told me that she got her lab values back and how much they had changed in just a couple months,
I did some crying emojis too.
I cried. I also cried a little bit, and we're not working together. It's just so exciting to have that. Honestly, okay, I have another question backing up to this. Yeah. To have that affirmation in front of you of like, hey, I feel really good. Like this says I'm doing it right. Honestly, nothing like it in the whole world. Thank you for being a part of this conversation today. By sharing with just one friend, you are not only showing the people that you love that you care about them, but you are helping this message that healthy does not have to be so hard reach hundreds of other people. Be sure to check out the show notes and visit www.bewellhwc.com for more information and to subscribe to the show so that you get notified every time there is a new episode available for you to learn more health tips and help you achieve your healthiest self. I cannot wait to sit down and chat with you again so soon. Until then, stay well.